After the senseless killing of rap star and community activist Nipsey Hussle, talks of a ceasefire have swept through LA's gang world. Here's a look at how Hussle's death has influenced a possible breakthrough.
The old way what we're doing right now, it's not working. It's people, mamas, and you know what I mean, losing their kids. What can we do to where that didn't happen no more? We're connecting hoods that was basically beefing and that you would never ever think that'd connect. Now we want to get it to where it's a ceasefire. What happened with Nipsey has a big part to do with it because we seen what they was doing in LA, so it kind of like trickled down to us because it was something that people wanted to do and been wanting to do, but the opportunity was presented now. I had to put my little foolish pride aside. And the first time we met at the park, it was a couple of power rules, you know what I mean, in the swamps. My role was just getting people there, probably about a good 10, 15 of us. Today it was like, you know, like 30, 40 people up in there with us. These are a lot of legends in one room, there's a lot of young legends. We got some stuff done, you know what I mean? We got some issues taken care of, but you know, the real issues get taken care of after the meeting, you know, in those little huddles. You face to face with your enemy in a circle, getting the real scoop to the table.
That's nothing.
The youth is the one that's going to the other side doing what they do. The youth is the one that's doing the internet goofy, dissing each other. I know a lot of hoods that I talk to, their biggest problem is the internet. The youngest can get their mind right, we could be all right, and it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard because you gotta think about when you was young and how you was thinking. You couldn't tell me nothing about no ceasefire. Once they start seeing the benefits of it and exposed to the benefits, it can happen. Give about at least within about 2 meetings, if the right people show up at these meetings, I truly believe it can happen.
LA Times reporters Nicole Santa Cruz and Cindy Chang wrote about how hundreds of predominantly black gangs across the city are trying to put their rivalries aside to stop the violence. Hi guys, thanks for being here. Do me a favor, set the stage, let people know what the state of gang culture is in the Southland right now.
You know, of course, in a broad sense, as far as predominantly black gangs, there are Crips and there are Bloods, but within each of those, there are hundreds of subsets, and a lot of times, you know, Crips war with Crips, not just with Bloods. So it's a very complicated landscape.
And, you know, one of the things that you said in your piece, Nicole, was that, you know, back in the day, if somebody was wearing blue and saw somebody wearing red, they would shoot them because they thought they were on a rival gang. Now, these shootings that are taking place between gang members are much more about personal slights, right?
Yeah, they're much more about personal disputes. It's less apparent out on the streets if someone is going to be wearing red or blue, so they kind of target each other just based off where they're at.
The east side killing they beef, and the west side killing they beef. Once that happened, then that's it.
What they look like, and even disputes over women, over perceived slights, or what people are saying on social media, kind of what they're posting, what they're commenting on.
So how did this all begin? With people getting together in a room and talking about their issues and trying to find a way to have a ceasefire, not a truce, which implies friendship, you say. Explain that.
So the gang members are always very careful to point out that difference. And, you know, the efforts that we've seen are mostly aiming towards ceasefires. And that just means don't go into the other gang's territory and cause trouble or shoot anybody.
And as opposed to a truce, which would imply that you're going to all get along.
Mm-hmm. That you're actually friends.
But what also was interesting in your piece is you talk about these black gangs in particular, they actually do team up when they are in prison, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the prisons are divided among racial lines.
And when they get out, some of these old guard gangsters are saying, listen, if we can get along in prison, we should be able to get along on the streets. But what prompted it? I mean, like, they really are having conversations. They really are having meetings. Why now?
Nipsey Hussle. I think the killing of Nipsey Hussle has really impacted a lot of these gangs in a significant way. They're feeling that it's kind of enough is enough, and emotions are still high, and people are just saying that we need to stop this violence, we need to come together and uplift our community.
And what about the difference in generations?
It's interesting. There is a group of gang leaders who are in their 30s who are emerging as leaders in this movement, and you have the older people, the so-called OGs, who are very much involved as well. But the 30-somethings can bridge the gap with the younger people in their teens and 20s who are often the ones out there with guns actually doing the shooting.
You need to start stepping up and mean it. That's what we need to do.
And so they are all saying to them, we've put enough of our kids in the ground, basically, right?
Yeah, we've seen enough people die. We've had enough cousins, brothers, sons die. So we don't want to see it again. We're sick of it. We're sick of the trauma that kind of places on our community.
Well, if they're not writing their new rules down now, might they someday write them down and sign something that would be binding?
I actually don't think that that's in the cards at this point. I think that it's kind of like therapy. They have to continue meeting, they have to continue kind of sorting out their differences, and they're getting closer and closer to where they want to be, but they have to keep on working at it.
Actually, in '92, some gangs did sign written agreements. There was one case where they used an agreement between Israel and Egypt as a model. That's not really in the air right now. It's more a lot of these verbal agreements and having these more sort of global meetings with a lot of different gangs, and then each gang going back home and sorting out its own business.
I really do wish them well. I think it would be great for all communities if they could just shut it down.
To keep up with the latest news and read more from Nicole and Cindy, log on to latimes.com.